Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 31 of A Yank on the Footy. I'm Craig Wessels from Sandusky, Ohio, and I'm thrilled that my guest is able to come back to the podcast after a quick visit back in February. I'm delighted to welcome Tara Cilke of the Denver Bulldogs of the USAFL back to the podcast. Welcome back, Tara.
Thank you so much for having me again. I love chatting with you, and anytime I get to talk about footy is a good day.
It's great to have you back. Yeah, we do trade messages online about footy and life in general, that type of thing online, and it's great to have you back on here for an actual interview. You did something terrific back in February, and I wanted to touch on that a little bit as we got going here. For those of you who didn't listen to the episode back in, I believe, mid-February, Tara was on with Ben Martinez from Texas, and they were doing a fundraiser dealing with the bushfires that were going on in Australia, and they did something called the Friends of Fire Footy Relief. And why don't you tell us how that went? And did you get any good feedback from the people in Australia at all, or anything of that nature?
Yeah, definitely. That went really, really well, actually. Friends of Footy Fire Relief. That just seems like a million years ago with everything that's gone on. But yeah, it went really great. We ended up raising quite a few funds, and the people in Australia were actually really surprised that people in the United States were helping so much. I think they're just overwhelmed by the amount of hospitality and friendship and coming together of people. And they didn't realize, the connections with footy from the United States to Australia. And so I had a lot of people reach out to me and just thank me so much for getting involved with this, for reaching out, for actually taking the time to do something for people that are not in our own country. So oftentimes, we don't really focus on other people. We tend to focus on ourselves and especially our own country and nation. So it was nice to be able to help others versus just in our own area. It's good to help people and whenever you can.
Absolutely. I actually heard somebody on television the other night, in terms of, helping out in other countries and such. And they'd made a recommendation about, it here in the States. And you said you had a background in HR, and this just kind of popped into my head, is that, we send a lot of people out as foreign exchange students to go visit other countries. My sister my parents hosted a couple of exchange students over the years. But this person had suggested that maybe we should have exchange programs where we actually send people that live in major metropolitan areas out into rural life and vice versa, just to see how even the country itself, our own country operates this too. So I thought that was kind of just a neat thing, but it's great that the folks in Australia, appreciated the help that you were providing. I had somebody who I keep in touch with online that lost their home in the fires, and it was very sad to watch everything he was going through. But now that he and his family have moved into a new home, it's kind of nice to see that whole Phoenix Rising thing, if you will, with him. But it's wonderful that the footy community here came together to help out in the way that they did. So you should be commended for that. And, that should, something you should be looking at as a feather in your cap for that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we ended up sending some money to help animal relief and also rural community relief. So we were able to help two different charities, which is amazing. And yeah, it's just always nice to be able to help people either here or other places around the world. I'm always trying to figure out ways or find ways that we can always support each other. We're all on this earth together, so you might as well help one another out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, the main reason that we're here today is to talk about a game that I think we both love. You love playing it. I love watching it. I would last about 10 seconds playing it. But
that's not true.
Okay, about 8 seconds actually. But yeah, that's the game of footy. How did you discover this game? I mean, this is not something that most Americans know about. Oh, it's rugby. No, it's not rugby. But how did footy come into your life?
Yeah, like I had no idea it even really existed pre-playing. I had never heard of it. I've never seen it on TV or anything like that. I grew up in a soccer background and softball background, so I played competitive. I've been playing competitive sports my whole life and didn't find footy until I was about 30 years old. And so I was dating a guy on the team, at my team at the time. And that's how a lot of people actually end up finding footy in the States is either they know a friend or they're dating someone. And they kind of get looped in that way. So I was dating a guy on one of the men's teams, and I actually went to one of his games and watched him play. And a bunch of the women came over and was like, "Hey, Tara, do you want to play today?" And I was like, "Crap!" I was in jeans and like a button-down shirt and flip-flops, and I was like, I can't really play today, you guys, but I would love to play another time." That was their only home game for the season, but I unofficially joined the team that very day and haven't looked back. So I've been continuing with the Denver Bulldogs for about 5 years now.
Okay. And what what drew you to it? I mean, you were dating somebody at the time. I'm none of my business whether that's still a thing or not. That's not it's nobody else's business at all. But um, because people around the world are listening to this, so you don't answer that. But what 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 drew you to the game? What made you think, okay, this is something I think I'd like to do? Yeah, you were competitive. You played soccer. You played softball. Did this just look like the next mountain to climb or that sort of thing? To use a
uh,
Colorado analogy.
yeah, like I loved the game because there was like so much movement on the field, and I really loved it because there was no stoppage in play, and it was aggressive and competitive. So like playing soccer, you have offsides. Like you can't really tackle people. You can do slide tackling and stuff, but it's not as physically aggressive. But in footy, there's like a lot of running. There's a lot of play on the field, which is awesome. And then I love that there's literally no stoppage in time. There's very few actual stoppages of time in the game of footy. Even if someone gets injured on the field, you kind of just play around them, which I just found fascinating. And I love that it was just continual play of sport consistently. I thought that was great. But actually, what drew me the most to footy was the community. The fact that when I first came and watched a game, to have all the women's team come up to you and be like, "Hey, you should come join us. We would love to have you," without even knowing me. And then, going to events and have them support you. Just the camaraderie on and off the field that I saw. Like playing competitive sports my whole life, like there is not another sport that has that kind of camaraderie that I've seen. There's a lot of politics that go around playing different sports. There's a lot of catty behavior that goes around playing sports. But with footy, it was just like family on and off the field. And to me, that was just everything.
Okay. Now for those folks who are listening, and most of you, if you're listening, you're probably watching the AFL and about dealing with the injury stoppage. But I'm actually I've never seen a USAFL game in person. I've watched a couple games on video on YouTube and some things on ESPN last year. But so even at the club level, there's no injury stoppage. It's just like, sorry, we're just going to keep right on going.
I mean, like, unless outside of like a super serious injury,
Right,
obviously you'll
right,
kind of
right,
stop play for endangerment of other players. But no, like, I've
right.
had women on the team who have broken their nose, run off to the sideline, grabbed some tampon, shoved them up their nose, continued on. I've had people sprain their ankles, fall down on the field. We have players rush on, grab them, pull them off, and we're still continuing playing. I mean, it's the best. Like, there's no like stoppage of play. I just think that's fantastic. No timeouts. Like, that's just great to have a continuous play of a sports game.
Yeah, it is. It is continuous action. It is, that's one of the things that drew me to it as well. So what's been, you mentioned the camaraderie. Is that the best part of being a part of this club? Is that the thing that has, looking back at the 5 or 6 years that you've been doing that, is that, or what would be the best part of being a part of this club?
Is being a part, well, specifically for being part of the Denver Bulldogs, it's definitely the camaraderie, being part of the USAFL, and actually playing footy. I don't know. The best part about is just being able to kick the crap out of a ball, tackle people, obviously, no pads playing. I mean, it's, it's a sport where, both women and men can play aggressively and be competitive together on the field, which I think is fantastic. I think that's truly the best part about it is just that. And yeah, again, the camaraderie. I think that is a really key factor. You don't see that with a lot of different sports, the true like physicality on and off like on the field, and then being able to go off the field and have a beer with your opponent like that. I mean, just be able to do that is really cool. I've tackled and taken down a bunch of players, and being on defense, I mean, that's my job, is to make sure people don't score goals. And so I've taken out a couple people, but at the end of the day and at the end of the game, we go out and have a beer afterwards. And that says a lot about the sport and about the way we play. So I think that's really cool.
So would you say that your circle of friends are made up, many of them are made up of people that you're playing alongside in this game? Has this kind of become your circle of friends then?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I don't have a lot of friends in I guess my normal typical life. I have a couple friends, but growing up, you move away or you have relationships and those friends fail or leave or whatever, but sporting friends stay for life. So these 5, years that I've been playing, I've developed a lot of relationships with people in Colorado. But then what's even really cool is all the relationships I've developed across the entire United States. I've met people that I would never have met any other time in my life. And now, I talk to them daily, or I talk to them, every now and then, but like we all come together, and when we can at nationals or during games, we'll have a beer together. Like, it's been nothing. So, just to have developed those relationships across the entire United States has been impressive. And even with that, I've developed relationships with people, like friendships with people. Even internationally, just by playing this game, which I would have never ever done. So yeah, my circle of friends has grown tremendously, just through the sport of footy.
Terrific, terrific. Now, have you had any, and this is kind of a Debbie Downer type question, but have you had any low points while you've been playing? Have there been any moments where you thought, what am I doing out here? Have you been able to avoid the injury bug, that type of thing? I mean, do you go back
Well,
to work, after a weekend of playing, and, you're bruised up and you got the black eye, and you walk in with your friends and say, we don't talk about Fight Club. I mean, how does that, how does that work?
I don't think I've had any low points. I've had some idiotic points in my time for sure. I've
Okay.
definitely not been able to avoid the injury bug. In fact, I am probably one of the most prone to injure players. I don't know if I want to say the entire USAFL, but definitely on the Denver Bulldogs for sure. Like I've told you, or like said in previous, I've been playing competitive sports all my life. I've been playing sports since I was 4 years old. I have never once gotten severely injured in a sport. The biggest injury I had was my freshman year playing soccer, for my junior varsity team, and I injured my knee, but it wasn't that serious. But since I started playing footy, I have broken a bone every single season, or have had a serious injury every single season that I've been playing. So yeah, if I could quit breaking bones,
Wow.
that'd be terrific.
Have
But
you,
it's been with
have
dumb
you,
stuff.
okay. Have you broken anybody else's bones?
I'm sure I have. I've done
Okay.
that plenty of times in my career playing
Okay.
sports. Actually, I've broken other bones. Used to be my thing, is I would break other people's bones. But then now I've
Okay.
recently been breaking my own, and so I realize, what I've been doing to others. I'm like, oh, now I feel bad.
Do, do it on yourself.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
in a previous conversation, and this is I thought it was like a very poignant statement that you made, and I wanted to kind of touch the surface of this, and however however deeply you want to go into it is perfectly fine by me. But you said in a previous conversation that we had online that footy saved your life. How did that happen? How did footy do that? And you know, expound on that however you wish.
Yeah, so the game of footy, when I first kind of got into it, I had just gone through divorce and then I was dating the player in the men's team. And so I had lost a bunch of friends and I had just recently had a huge transformation of a weight loss of going from 250 pounds, losing 75 pounds. And so I had just started getting myself back into shape and I've always used sport kind of as a way for me to help stay healthy and help stay in shape. And I didn't really have that moving forward. So when I found footy again and like was introduced to footy, being a part of that team and training so incredibly hard, um, going into practices and being able to run that much and having people encourage me along the way, like provide so much support and so much encouragement for whatever level I was at. Being in a sport where they're not demanding of you to be at a certain level with other people, but allow you to explore and allow you to be at the level you are and grow in a sport. It's transformational. It saves me in the fact that I knew that if I kept playing the sport, I wasn't going to, have that issue of gaining all that weight back again. It also really saved me with being like with depression and anxiety. Going through that crazy times in my life, which has happened recently and happened over the couple years. I've had footy to fall back on. I've had my, teammates come and talk to me and make sure I was okay. Make sure I'm getting through the day every day, making sure that if ever I'm having a down day or an off day, they're there to help me or they'll go have a kick with me. And so I think the mental aspect of footy and having that team camaraderie and just having a sport that really truly includes everyone, no matter your skill level, no matter if you're fat, thin, tall, short, whatever race you are, whatever sex you are, whatever preference you prefer, whatever, like having that has just it's a life changer. It saved my life constantly. Whenever I'm in dark times, it's there for me, and those people are there for me. And I think having that has just again it's saved my life personally to fall back on, and to keep my health and mentality in check.
That's amazing, and I don't have it pulled up. I'm not going to quote from it or anything, but you had a very detailed um, commentary that you posted online recently that was just it was inspiring, and I'm it's something that that if it didn't I'm not going to put something out there that has somebody else's name on it, but it's something that hopefully other people get a chance to to read that, and they're kind of hearing that with what your comment was there. But it's great to hear that that you've got somebody, you've got people that were able to give you kind of that positive accountability to help you to recover, to get yourself going forward after a really difficult time. And so that's I'm thrilled for you that the game was able to do that, that these new friends were able to help you through doing that as well. So that's a wonderful thing. So I appreciate you sharing that. If you're, like I said, I'm not posting what you wrote because that's not my place to do that. But it was very poignant to me because I've been sitting around my house, talking to people through a computer for the last basically the last 6 months, but have had very few face-to-face conversations with anyone. So it's been that was a rather inspiring thing for me to read as well. So it was kind of a hey, get off your butt kind of a thing for me. So been
Well,
doing a
thank
lot
you.
of gardening and yeah, so that
Uh,
was terrific.
well, it's difficult, like especially during these times right now with COVID and everything. We've all, I think a lot of us have gotten out of shape again. I definitely have gotten out of shape again, and it's been a huge disappointment for me because I told myself a while ago that I would never get back to this point that I am now. And I think I've just been in a dark place, and this is a big year for me for a birthday that's coming up, and a lot of things that I thought in life were going to happen and haven't happened yet. But the one thing that's been consistent and a positive consistent has been my family, and it's been footy. And so those two things really just keep me going, and keep me focused and keep me positive and keep me on the right track to wanting to get healthy and better again. And so to have that, I think, is just truly inspirational. And I love the hell out of everyone that plays footy. I love everyone in the USAFL. And I really, truly love my Denver Bulldogs. And I just want to give a shout out to them and thank them so very much for giving me a place on their team, their club, and being family to me.
That's fantastic. Now, have you been able to pay this forward with in your 5 years with new people coming into the club, that you've been able to give them the support and encouragement that others were giving you?
Yes, definitely. Like, I think that's one of the things I pride myself on, or try to pride myself on, as well as my team does as well, is just giving back to those people. So whenever anyone joins our team, I always make sure to try to reach out to them, see if they need anything personally, if there's any struggles they're trying to, get over or whatever. Just having that and being able to reach out to them and say, hey, you know what? It's okay. We've all gone through things. How can I help you? What can we work on specifically? I've gone out with players and done individual kicks with them just to try to help them get, up to speed a little bit. I've helped players, off the field with things like job searches and job hunts and perfecting their resume and
Well, that's
providing them
fantastic.
references and stuff. And so, like, again, it's that community feeling, the camaraderie, the family feel. It truly is a footy family. And so I do try to provide that support to anybody who needs it.
That's amazing. And knowing your work background, that's terrific that you're able to help people outside of playing the game as well. So that's really that's wonderful that you're helping folks out with that as well. But you're at this point in time, you would have already been playing games if COVID-19 was not happening. You'd be well into your season,
Yeah, definitely.
if I'm not mistaken. So you're you're
Yeah.
you're 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 training right now. Have you been able to do any training as a group, or has this still been small group or individual at this point in time?
The Denver Bulldogs started off with online training, so we did Zoom trainings. Just recently, we've been doing small group trainings around the Denver metro area. So we have different groups, in different parts of Denver. I live up in the northern area, so that includes like Boulder, Fort Collins, and like a couple of the areas around there. So we do small trainings, like 10 people. We're trying to combine our groups to do 25 people per group.
Okay.
COVID's on the rise again, so we'll see how long that lasts. But yeah, we are trying to train. I have been to a couple of trainings so far. I have to be really careful because my parents just moved back to Colorado, and they are, high risk factors. So I just need to take that into consideration because I do want to still see my family and be in contact with my family, obviously. And I know a
Right,
lot of
right.
other people have that concern as well. So we are saying, if you would like to come to training, we would love to have you at training. If you don't feel comfortable, we allow you to be part of the team in other ways. Just because we're not training on the field doesn't mean you're not part of the team still. So there are other ways for people to be involved, having kicks together, either doing, two pair or a pair of kicks, or like having small group kicks. Yeah, we've been trying to keep up morale and keep up playing footy as much as possible in all the ways we can.
Okay. Okay. That's fantastic, because you're doing what you can with what you have available right now. So that's
Exactly.
great to hear that you're keeping people as involved as they can possibly be. Now,
Definitely.
you on social media, this is not a knock at all, but this is how, again, it's an inspirational thing, but every day you post here's what you have done as far as your workout and that sort of thing during your training sessions, where looks like you're doing those on your own. So when you're out there doing your runs and your sprints and that sort of thing, what's on your playlist? What are you listening to? music, podcast, audiobooks? What you got
Um,
going?
I, de- I definitely have to listen to music, so I need something that drowns out the screaming of my muscles. So I tend to listen to
Okay.
music as loud as possible with a really strong beat. So if I have a really fast, strong beat, every beat, then I can put like my foot, and that's kind of how I use it for running. So I have to have super fast songs. I tend to listen to the weirdest songs that just have a strong beat that I wouldn't normally listen to. I'm a classic rock girl, but some of those songs are just not fast enough for me to keep a constant beat. So, yeah, I listen to some crazy stuff when I'm
Oh,
running,
well, as
but it has to be
I,
music.
yeah, okay. I freak out my students at school sometimes because, when and first of all, I have to preface it, 12 years old. This is how cool my mom is. When I was 12 years old, I got a copy for my birthday because it came out, I think 3 days before my birthday. I got a copy of Alice Cooper Goes to Hell from my mom for my 12th birthday.
Nice.
So that was, yeah, really, really cool mom. So she's,
Hmm.
but yeah, yeah, I'm kind of a Megadeth, Slipknot, hell yeah, Pantera type person when it comes to the music. But then I can go and listen to, Dean Martin at the drop of a hat. So I'm all over the map when it comes to music, which really confuses the kids in my classroom. So they never know what's going to be playing when they walk in the room. But yeah,
Well,
that's
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 cool.
yeah, they never, I'm not, there's some things that I'm not a big fan of, but not going to hear a lot of bluegrass. Uh,
I forgot over
so
our pop country that we have today. Pop country, I cannot stand. Our country that we have right now is not country music, but yeah,
well,
I love
well,
listening to
there,
music.
there, there is one kind of modern country musician that I do like a lot. And it's a guy named Chris Stapleton.
Yeah, Chris, he's
I don't know if you,
okay. Chris Stapleton,
yeah,
I can tolerate his stuff.
he's not bad. I
Um,
like listening to him.
yeah.
I had a buddy when I was in the Navy introduce me to Hank Williams Jr. and I think I have just about everything that he ever has recorded. So yeah,
See,
he's a lot
that's
of fun to
good.
listen to as
That's
well.
good classic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I try to stay away from the country songs. I listen to, yeah, a lot of classic rock. Led Zeppelin is my jam. So
Okay,
that's
okay.
my kind of music. But yeah, when I'm training, I have to have something with a really strong beat and it has to be really loud to drown out the screaming of my muscles.
So is Greta Van Fleet the second coming of Led Zeppelin?
Nobody can be the second coming of Led Zeppelin. They're all on their
Okay,
own.
right. But they sure sound a little like them.
They're decent. Yeah, they do definitely sound like them a lot. I like their music as well, but I try not to compare or make them be exactly similar. I like to keep
Right.
my eras separate from each other of people that actually know how to play their own instruments and sing without the use of, technology
Auto
to make
tune,
them sound better. Yeah, exactly.
or to make them sound tolerable. Yeah,
Right,
better
right.
is a relative term. Uh,
very, very
yeah,
true, Craig.
I I have I have a background I'll put up on my computer screen at school that some and I have a bunch of different pictures I'll cycle through during the year that what it says something to the effect that hopefully the next fad in music is talent, which really ticks the kids off, which really ticks them off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see
that
that. Yeah.
really, yeah. So you do a lot, yeah, you do a lot of your training up in the mountains. Have you had any kind of crazy animal encounters that have encouraged you? Do you carry stuff with you to ward off the animals just in case?
The worst animal's man, and
Oh, well, okay,
annoying
yeah.
kids.
I I
So,
listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, so you're absolutely right on that. I
I don't, yeah, I'm not really concerned about wild animals as I actually practice safe practices and make sure I adhere to trail safety and guidelines and don't go, escaping off. Signs are posted for a reason. They're listed for purposes. I see people feeding wild animals and I'm like, are you stupid? I just heard the story about the lady that got really, really close to a bison to take a picture of it and she got gored. And I'm like, well, that's your own dang fault. So I have zero sympathy for people that do that stuff.
Wow.
They
Yeah.
earned it if they, have wild animals. So no, I've
Yes.
not had any encounters with that. I
Okay.
did
Well,
recently
good.
though have a story about a cow. So I went up hiking last week. I think it was last weekend, and I was coming down off the mountain, and I heard this really strange mooing, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?" I've never heard a cow moo like that before. It was like really weird and grating, almost like it sounded like it was dying or something. I was like, "Oh God." And so I didn't see this cow anywhere. It was like tall bushes and stuff. And so I come down the path, and then all of a sudden, this cow chases out of the bushes down at me, like charging down the mountain. And I've never seen a cow run that fast in my entire life ever. I had to like jump out of the way. I fell on my butt. I twisted my ankle. And yeah, just having this cow chase me down the mountain was pretty funny. But that's pretty much the only crazy encounter with animals I've
So,
had was a dumb
and
cow.
and and it was a domesticated one. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it was part of a farm, part of the farmland. Nothing like, a bull, a raging bull or anything, or a bison. It was just a cow.
just a cow. Yeah. So
Yep.
I don't know what kind of lateral ability the cows have. So if you dodge left or right, do they just kind of keep going in a straight line and go right past you?
Yeah, they just went in a straight
Oh,
line. That's why I ended up, yeah, being able to get out of its way.
okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
but
So
not, nothing too crazy.
is your club still holding out hope to have any games this year, or are you simply training for 2021, just kind of writing off this year?
Yeah, we always have hope. We like really, really want to play, but we also are, conscientious about, what's going on in the world right now and
Right, right.
understand the plight. So, why we do have hope, we are training for maybe potential games. We just had New York back out. We were supposed to have New York come to Colorado to play. And they've backed out for legitimate reasons. I definitely think it's just going to be tricky, like with our schedules going on right now across the United States of people not training, and then try to play a game. There's the risk for injury is so high at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
Not being able to train, it's just not worth it for players. Making sure to provide safety for our players is definitely top priority. That should be priority number one for everybody over playing or money or any of that factor is player safety. We're really good at that in Colorado, but we're still maybe holding out hope for people to either come to Colorado from California and Texas, for us to travel maybe to Texas, although the rates are really high too, and then maybe potentially still nationals. But honestly, we're not holding our breaths and kind of just waiting for 2021. I think that's going to be the
Okay.
best bet and the safest bet, honestly, overall. It sucks. It's hard to say that. It's tough. I really wanted to have a huge comeback this year after my injury seasons last year and not really playing very much. So I was really, really looking forward to this season being a huge, like, get back into it, a tackle nationals and have an awesome season. But I don't think it's going to happen, Craig. I really don't. It's looking rough.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's. I think it's probably better to be safe than sorry. And as you were saying,
Yeah.
your parents moving back there. So you're originally from Colorado, then, correct?
Originally, I'm from New Mexico. I was born in New Mexico, but I've lived in Colorado since I
Okay.
was 3 years old, so I consider myself a near native.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Born and raised in the same town I live in now. It's my grandparents had a house the next street over from where I live now. So yeah, I didn't get too far away. Uh, so yeah, walk the dogs past the house, past their old house all the time. So how have you, besides your training for footy, how have you kept your sanity during the lockdown? And how have you balanced the working from home with just realizing I still have to do my thing, I still have to live my life?
Yeah, I mean, I clearly have lost a little bit of sanity since I've been like gaining weight like crazy and eating my entire life away. But other than that, Greg, um, I have just been doing a lot of workouts on my own, making sure I get outside and go for walks, go for hikes in the mountains. Really working on my photography. I binge watch a lot of TV, which is probably not the best. And then
That
a
was going to be my
priority
next.
thing
That was going to be my next
uh,
question.
what TV like TV binging was.
Uh-huh.
I do. I've watched pretty much everything under the sun. It's kind of crazy. I'm currently watching Snowpiercer, the TV show. That's been kind of fun. What else have I watched? I've literally watched everything. The Politician's kind of funny. You name it, I've probably seen it and watched it. So yeah, if anyone out there needs TV recommendations, send them my way. I think I've seen it all. Or if you need to say, hey, is this a good one to watch? I'll let you know. But yeah, it's been a lot. Other than that, yeah, I've been working on my photography. I have primarily though been just doing work for my company, but then most of all, I've been actually doing work for my team. So I do head of social media and marketing for my team, and I'm the co-VP of the women's operations. So that actually keeps me pretty busy, making sure we have content out there, keeping people engaged, making sure my players are safe and sound, and yeah, just keeping up with all of that.
Okay, so you don't have a whole lot of downtime, so you're definitely keeping
No.
yourself busy. Yeah, I I discovered Acorn TV, which has kind of become my go-to one. It's all pretty much all British stuff. Um, I've been watching a lot of British, actually a lot of Australian shows on there as well. So there's been
Oh,
some
very
fun ones
cool.
that I've discovered. Yeah, there've been some fun ones
Yeah.
that I've enjoyed that have been on there as well. But it's
I,
yeah, I don't know if I've kept my sanity. I'm sure my family would say, no, you haven't. It's okay. We still like you anyway, but yeah, no, just don't even try to admit that you think you have, because you haven't.
well, what has
But
been your favorite new British show that you've encountered? I prefer Monty Python and Mr. Bean as my classic British shows, but what about you? Anything new that's fun?
I've and this is one that's actually on Netflix that I ran across, called the IT Crowd.
Love that
And
one. That's hilarious.
have you seen that one? I've recommended that
It's
I've recommended that one to several people, and also there was one on Acorn TV called Raised by Wolves, which was this, and there was only like 20 episodes in the whole run of it. But it's a single mom with her, like, 4 or 5 kids, and a very, very promiscuous grandfather in the series as well. It's hilarious. That was one of my teachers that I work with recommended that one to me. But that one's on Acorn. But
all
it's
right, check it out.
yeah, I've been doing a lot of gardening is what I've been doing. So
That's good.
so yeah, actually I've been downsizing my gardens, but you know, back to I would rather mow it than weed it right now. So I've actually planted probably 150 square feet of grass in my front yard this summer and downsized a couple big gardens.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, as somebody who plays the game here in the United States, most of the people who are listening to the podcast live in Australia. But what do you think that they should know about the footy players here in the U.S.? Yeah, they know who Danny Marshall is. They know who Mason Cox is. But what about the players from the Denver Bulldogs and the RVA Lions, and the club? And well, I'm not going to try to name all of them, but the clubs that are all over the country. What should they know about the players that are playing the games here?
Yeah, they should know that we have 46 clubs here, and we have about 4 developmental clubs here in the United States, which is huge. A lot of people don't know that we have that many clubs in the United States. So first of all, just understanding the scope, we are one of the largest um, countries that actually have footy compared to, like Australia obviously is the largest, and we are in the top 4 of the largest countries for footy. So that's kind of interesting to think about when a lot of people don't even know footy exists in the United States. And then I also think that in the United States, we have such a vast array of talent, and I think it's really, really cool that we have such a strong women contingent here in the United States. The US actually had more women playing at a high competition level, even before Australia kind of did. So I think that's huge that we kind of helped bring footy to light for women players, and I think we continue to grow the game of women's footy in the United States. And then also just grow the game of footy for all players of all different, backgrounds, skill level again. So I think that's really cool that we are able to bring a sport into the United States that just has, such a vast variety of different types of players playing. And yeah, again, really growing the game for women.
Okay, and it's kind of a follow up on that. Do you think you're playing against other teams, you have teammates and that sort of thing? Is there or are there, I should say, are there other women playing in the USAFL right now that you think could compete in the AFLW?
Oh, definitely. I think there is quite a few women, I would say, that has the ability to be able to compete at the AFLW level. Whether or not they want to is a different story. That's a lot of time that you have to take out of your life to go and try out and test those waters and stuff. We also have a lot of women on our team that are, I guess, in the older subset. I'm in my mid 30s, which is like a little bit older to be playing competitive sports. We have a lot of women even in their 40s or older that are still playing, which is awesome and fantastic that we have players like that. And I think some of those women in their, the older age, not that we are old, just in the older age to be playing, high level pro sports. That's weird to say, but yeah, I think it's a travesty that like when you look at pro level sports, you tend to look at players, in their late teens, early 20s, to be able to be competitive. So yeah, I think that's probably one of the things they don't think they are viable enough maybe for age, or they have family and all dealing with that or work and stuff like that. So it's just hard to be able to go across to a new country and start a new life there to do a competitive sport. We definitely have women though here in the U.S. that I've played against that I'm like, wow, they would be strong contenders. I wish we could have an
Okay.
international game of playing more Australia teams across here in the United States and over there, outside of just through USAFL Freedom and things like that. But if we could do that and showcase our talent, that'd be really cool.
That'd be great. Yeah. And with regards to, to Danny Marshall, I mean, that was a significant leap of faith that she and her family took to make that decision to do that. So that's probably not
Yeah,
something that
exactly.
everyone can do. Even if you have the skill set to do it, you may not have the ability to do it just in terms of, the logistics. I mean, so that's, that is very
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
for
yeah.
sure. It's impressive what our women players here in the United States do with their families. And I mean, Drea Casillas from the New York Magpies. She's been playing for quite a few years. She has two children. She just had a baby and she's already playing again. So, just the resilience of our women players here, the perseverance, the strength it's astounding. We have such strong competitors in the USAFL of our women's side that yeah, I respect the hell out of every single one of them that come out in the field, no matter to their skill level. I think everyone has the potential to be great in this league.
Okay. I mean, that is a great endorsement for the level of competition that you're participating in there. Now, well, most of the people in us, that are listening, about 60% are listening in Australia, but there are a lot of people here in the U.S. and elsewhere around the world. And I get more and more people that are tuning in for the first time, which is great because it helps my numbers, even though I'm not making any money on this. I'm doing it just because I'm having fun doing it. But if you were to describe the game of footy to somebody who's never seen it before, How would you describe it?
I always tell people it's like the platypus of the sports world. It takes like a little
Okay.
something from everything, and kind of combines it together. It's also kind of a game where if you took a bunch of soccer goalies and put them on a field, it's with more tackling. I guess you can kind of describe it like that. I don't know if I would go quite the lengths of describing it how Mason Cox did with Murder Ball, but that's kind of close as well as Murder Ball. Um, yeah, it's a hard sport to describe. I've tried to do it for players when I go out and I do my recruiting tactics of when I'm out running or whatever. I'm like, hey, would you like to try a new sport? And I just tell people it is the greatest game on grass that you'll ever play. It's a whole lot of fun, and we have the best players and best people on board. So if you want all of those things in a cool sport and a fun sport, come try it out. So they're always kind of interested to see what that entails of having the best people and kind of a funky sport to play.
Okay, I have to ask this question just because of that comment there, and this is meant in jest here. But after recent legislation in Colorado, does the greatest game on grass take on a whole new meaning there? Does that perk people's ears up for different reasons?
It very well might, yeah. Being an athlete, I don't partake in that stuff, but a lot of other people do, and yeah, I mean, it could be in the state
Okay,
of Colorado. You just never know. I mean, maybe
yeah,
you
I
could have
didn't.
that as a subset to the.
Yeah, yeah. So that just
That
popped
would
in
make
you
things very interesting, Craig.
when you said that. I was like, Colorado. Oh, yeah, that's yeah. Okay, I have to ask that. So have you been watching any of the AFL since the season started back up? Have you been able to do that?
Yeah, I've caught a couple games. So I love the Western
Okay.
Bulldogs. They've been doing really, really well. Their first game out, they didn't do too good, but then they've caught on and gotten a little bit better. So they've been definitely improving throughout the summer. But it's been an interesting go with the AFL play or teams that you wouldn't normally consider to be decent teams like Gold Coast.
Well,
They came out
I
and they attacked and killed their competition, and you're
uh-huh.
like, wow. So
Well,
it's
I
been a unique season with the
yes,
summer
yes.
and with
Well,
COVID and with players, and yeah, there's been a lot of
eh,
upsets and crazy things that have happened. So who
well,
knows?
Saint, if you haven't had a chance to watch Gold Coast, and I'm terrified of. They play Geelong Saturday morning, I think it is.
Hmm.
At 2:30 in the morning here. So, set your DVR for it. But they've got a kid an 18-year-old kid named Matt Rowell who looks like he's about 30. I mean, it's like he's chiseled out of granite. I mean, it's amazing watching this. It's an 18-year-old kid playing,
Hmm.
and I've seen that. I've watched three of their games this year, and it's great for the game. I think to have Gold Coast being competitive because the league has invested so much in trying to make that club viable in a place where footy didn't have much of a foothold, pun sort of intended. But yeah, and then St. Kilda is
Yeah.
playing extraordinarily well as well. So they
Hmm.
just they
Yeah.
they thumped they thumped Carleton this morning. So
Yep. Well, I hope my Western Bulldogs continue to succeed and crush it out there on the field. They're doing really well right now, so I
yeah,
hope they continue that,
they are.
especially
I
being our
think that's
namesake. So
yeah. Now is that what drew you to become a Western fan? Then the namesake is that, or did was that, or did just kind of was that kind of like a natural progression? Hey, we're the Bulldogs, they're the Bulldogs. That's who I'm gonna support.
that's initially how I got into it.
Okay.
And then a lot of the Bulldogs fans actually have reached out to me, and it's just
Oh,
again,
cool.
I've met so many people that are like huge fans, like the Western Bulldog Facebook groups and all of that. Especially
Hmm.
when I was doing Friends of Footy Fire Relief, they reached out and just to like thank me for putting that together in the United States, and from there I've just become like good friends with them, like online friends, obviously. But like, yeah, it's impressive their fan base and how awesome their fans are. And so again, to have that, I say the word camaraderie a lot and community a lot, but it's just so true. It just rings true in the footy community. And I've really seen that a lot with the Western Bulldog fans. So big shout out to them. And I love every single one of them because they're just so friendly. I mean, Frode is like that too.
Yeah.
He's an awesome guy and a huge Bulldog supporter. And I've met him
Right.
through that
Right.
too. So yeah, they're a great group of people. And I love their way of being so
And
friendly and awesome.
I think one of the things that leads to that in the AFL, and it goes back into the VFL days and prior to that, I think one of the things about that is that the clubs are, for all intents and purposes, they are owned by the membership.
Mm-hmm.
The membership, the sponsorship, the people who are fans of that team or supporters of that team are basically the owners through their membership. So I mean, there is that that personal connection that that you don't have in the NBA or you don't have in Major League Baseball or in the NFL, other than the Green Bay Packers, which is a basically a publicly held that team is basically owned by shareholders, by the community.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think that has a lot to do with why that camaraderie amongst the fans, within a certain club, within the Bulldog community or the Magpies or the Dockers community or whatever club it happens to be, they're there for each other. So I mean, that's a great thing that I think it'd be wonderful if we had that in sports here in the States.
Oh, I agree.
But
Yeah, I think it would change the game for sure to have more investment of the people versus I guess, our large corporations.
Right. Well, and there are the large corporations in the AFL though, because you see the sponsorship logos on the Guernseys, so, but still, much of it is the folks, is the people who are paying the money to be members. So I think that's,
exactly.
I became a member for the first time this year, and that's something I hope to continue doing, because it was cheaper to get the Watch AFL app being a member than getting it by itself.
Oh, wow,
So,
yeah. See, that's fantastic.
yeah.
And you have people in the US that are, trying to get into more and more of the AFL games, which I think is really, really cool that we're seeing a little bit of a surge of that. And I hope
Right.
it continues because it's such a great
I do
game.
too.
It's
I
so
do
much
too.
fun to watch. I love
Yeah.
it more than American football, and that's saying a lot coming from Denver with the Denver Broncos here. There's a lot of crazy fans, but it doesn't compare.
You're too young to remember, but I don't even want to talk about the Denver Broncos. I don't. I'm a lifelong Cleveland Browns fan. I don't even go read up on 1986, 1987, 1988. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear about it. John
All
Elway.
right.
John Elway is never getting a Christmas card from me.
There's a funny story with John Elway, but you'll be happy about this. I hit a ball at his daughter. I played softball against John Elway's daughter, and I hit a line drive right into her when I was playing softball.
Uh-huh.
So that's my little story with John Elway, if that makes you feel better.
I mean, did she not catch it? I mean, it actually hit her?
No, yeah, it actually hit her. So not that I would ever, want to injure anybody or anything, but that's my claim to fame with John Elway there, is playing softball against his daughter. But yeah, we won't go there with the Browns and the Broncos. That wasn't before my time, but yeah.
It didn't hit her in the head or anything, did it?
No. It just hit her in the side.
Okay.
It left a nasty bruise. She was fine. It's all good. But yeah, that was millions of years ago when I played competitive softball.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we've covered everything that we're going to delve into today. So I appreciate you coming on. Ladies and gents, was there anything that you wanted to finish up with, that you wanted to touch base with or touch on before we wrap this up? I should toss that out there.
No, I just want to say, I just hope everyone keeps continuing to stay safe. I know we all want to keep out there and keep playing and hopefully have nationals, but safety is more important. I just want to give a shout out to the whole footy community for being amazing people. I've got to meet the likes of you, Craig, and a couple other people. And again, like that wouldn't have happened without this wonderful sport. So I love the sport
That's
and
not a,
everything and all the opportunities. So it's a
I'm
great
not
place
sure if
to
that's a
be. And
positive though.
I think it is, Craig. It's a positive. Come
Okay.
on.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I just want to say a big thank you. The Denver Bulldogs are awesome. And if anybody out there is even considering playing footy, and if you're on the fence or if you think it's too dangerous or you're nervous about it, give us a shout because we will help you join it. And once you do, you'll never look back and want to keep playing forever. So come join
How
us.
can they
Come
get
join the Denver Bulldogs or anybody else out there.
how can they get in touch with your club, or if they're, in another community that has a club? I know that, I was going to mention the USAFL.com website, but if they're in the Denver area specifically, how can they get in touch with your club?
Yeah, if you want to get in touch with the Denver Bulldogs, we are on several social media feeds. So we're on Facebook, Instagram. We have our website, which is denverbulldogs.com. You can reach out to me specifically if you find my name online. I'm more than happy to talk with you one-on-one and get you signed up. But yeah, we respond pretty quickly. Again, with the whole social media marketing being the head of that, I reach out to players and people all the time that take interest. So yeah, come find us. We'd be more than happy to help you. And again, if you're in another state and looking to play footy, we have 46 clubs across the entire United States. And several developmental clubs also. So you can definitely find a team to play on. All the teams are amazing. I can't say anything bad about any club across the United States. I've had connections with pretty much all of them, and they're just awesome, truly awesome people. So if you want to play footy, go play footy. It's an amazing sport, and you won't regret it.
Okay. Now, you mentioned developmental clubs a couple times. Before we go, what does that mean? Does that mean it's a team that is just beginning and they're going to hopefully compete, against other teams in the future?
Yeah, so they're like smaller clubs that actually haven't been recognized by the USAFL yet.
Okay.
But they're just kind of starting to grow a little bit in development. They're also maybe not as competitive, so they're more like drinking clubs or social clubs, they like to call themselves. So those types of clubs are, developmental, I guess you can call them, where they're not
Well,
fully associated yet with the USAFL or large enough, or I guess they don't feel like they are, even though they have enough players, they could potentially be, associated or part of the actual league. They choose not to be. So again, like
okay.
really, you can go out there and find anyone to play footy with. It's an awesome community to have that, to be able to find the sport. It is tricky sport to find, but it's doable. So yeah, feel free to contact me, and I can also help you find other places to play and contacts of
Okay.
clubs across the U.S. as well. I've been working with other clubs too to help them with recruitment and things like that as well. So I would definitely be up for that.
Yeah, and some people might actually like the idea of it being a drinking club. That might appeal to. There might be a whole niche of people out there that go, "I'll sign up for that. Can I take the beer on the field with me?"
That's a part of footy too, is the drinking aspect and the fun times after the
Yeah, yeah.
pub part after too. So don't discount
Kind of
that.
like, okay. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank my guest, Tara Cilke of the Denver Bulldogs of the USAFL, for joining me for this talk. I had a lot of fun with it. You can find out more about the USAFL at usafl.com. And there's also a link on there that has a list of all the different teams across the country. And most of them have their own individual websites as well. But Tara, I appreciate you taking time out of your afternoon and stopping by and sitting down to talk with me. I hope you had fun with this.
Always, Craig. You were a blast to hang out and talk with, and thank you so very, very much for having me on again. I really appreciate
Okay.
it.
You bet. Absolutely. Great to talk with you. Ladies and gentlemen, one of my goals recently has been to let everyone know that I've begun to create a mailing list of listeners of A Yank on the Footy. In this week's show notes, there is a link to a Google form which will allow you to add your email address so I can email you directly when new episodes are released. So far, I've had 12 people sign up. I appreciate you signing up. That's not a huge list, but you are still getting those first.
I want to also use this to help notify people of times when I'm going to be conducting a live episode, something I haven't done yet, but I'm hoping to do here in the very near future. I also have a spot on the questionnaire for you to ask me any questions that you'd like, or to provide any ideas for upcoming episodes, including recommendations and possible leads for people that I could interview in upcoming episodes. I would love to hear from you if you have ideas, if you have a great story to tell, or if you are passionate about your club. I would love to hear from you. So I'd strongly encourage you to click on the show notes, and then at the top link where it's entitled Email Form for Creating Email List, add your name to that list. I would love to have you on that list, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget that while you can find all of the episodes of this podcast at ayankonthefooty.podbean.com, you can also find it on your favorite podcast provider. Now that you've given it a listen, I'm hoping that you'll also consider going to Apple Podcasts and giving me a review, letting me know what I'm doing well, what I need to work on, what your thoughts are. Lets the podcast host know what you think of the show. Might help get it moved up a little bit on their listings as well. But I would love to hear from you. You could even leave me a comment on the Podbean app as well. You can also email me at ayankonthefooty@gmail.com if you have any questions or comments. You can also find me on Twitter at yank_on, as well as on Facebook and Instagram at ayankonthefooty. I'd like to thank Mr. Joseph McDade for a couple of pieces of music that we're using. You can find Mr. McDade's music at josephmcdade.com/music. He creates some fantastic music, and I hope you'll check out his tunes online. Ladies and gents, those of you who are listening in Victoria, I want you to know I'm thinking about you. The COVID-19 virus has had another spike recently, and I'm sorry that you're having to deal with what you're dealing with. And I hope things get resolved here in the very near future. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening because, many of us are fans of our own teams. Deep down, we're fans of a game that we all love, and that's the game of footy. For those of you who are in the States and are starting to watch the games, or in Canada, don't forget that Australian rules football is why they invented the DVR. You've got games on every weekend throughout the rest of this season and hopefully into the future. Hopefully the game scores some pretty decent ratings for FS1 and FS2 as well as for ESPN, and they'll consider adding more games on next year. But this is a great sport. I hope you're enjoying checking it out. I do ask that you share a link to this podcast with your friends and family. And ladies and gentlemen, may your dribble kick never hit the post. I'll catch you later. This has been episode 31 of A Yank on the Footy. Don't forget that you can reach me at yank_on Twitter or to yankonthefooty@gmail.com. You can also find me at Instagram and Facebook at A Yank on the Footy. I hope you'll consider filling out that email list. And ladies and gents, thanks for listening, and please consider sharing the podcast with your friends and family. Until next time, goodbye.